Professionals in any field of work, what's the most ridiculous thing someone outside of your profession has claimed to know more about than you? Not a super cool job, but I deliver chips to stores. I had the milk delivery guy ask me why I was bringing in more product than the guy before me had. I said because we needed it. He said that couldn't be true because milk sales hadn't risen. WTF do milk sales have to do with chips? Lawyer. And most clients are fine. But about 5% act like they know the law better than you because they did a Google search or read a Wikipedia article. Me. We can sue for A and B, not C or D. Client. Why can't we sue for C? I read something that says we can. Me. I've researched it and it's not supported by the law and we lose. Client. Put it in anyway. Me. I can't put in things we can't defend. They'll just get thrown out anyway. And it will turn the judge off to our good claims if we include a lot of junk claims. Client. I don't think you're doing everything you can to win my case. Maybe I'll find another lawyer. I'm a standard small shop barista and once a girl asked me to make her a hot chocolate with a shot of espresso, which is what a mocha is since we use the same chocolate powder for both types of drinks. I tell her, oh, do you mean a mocha? If I charge you for a hot chocolate plus the extra shot it will be more expensive than if I just charge you a mocha, ma'am. She proceeds to tell me she knows more about coffee and that the two are totally different due to the different way we prepare the chocolate. Instead of arguing with her, I go ahead and make her the drink but had already written the M for mocha on her drink label. When I hand her the drink she proceeds to get hella angry and demand I remake her drink like she said, a hot chocolate with an extra shot. So I go back to the bar and basically just put her old drink into a new cup with the HC for hot chocolate. She takes a sip and goes, yep, much better. I'm a radio presenter. I once spent 15 minutes at a dinner listening to a woman tell me that I didn't work on a certain radio station that I had worked on for 6 years. It was quite honestly the maddest thing I'd ever heard. No, it's not that one, and if you don't really understand, don't worry, me neither. I'm zookeeper. Please enlighten me as to why tigers make wonderful pets. Pharmacist. Have had more than one person try to convince me that their liver was special and that they developed a tolerance to enormous doses of Tylenol. Pro tip, you do not develop a tolerance to acetaminophen and no one gets to exceed 4000 mg day. Mostly, these patients have developed a tolerance to hydrocodone and are looking for ridiculous fills of Vicodin. Sir, Dr. A has given you the maximum dosage. I cannot fill the prescription from Dr. B. Duck you. My liver is special. Runner up. Pick anything said by Dr. Oz. Duck Dr. Oz. I'm a water professional. Been told numerous times there are no asbestos water pipes. I've been told that would be illegal and unethical. Asbestos concrete pipes are one of the most common types of water and sewer pipes. A know-it-all told me, a professional musician music instructor, that his favorite piece of music, of which he claimed expertise, was Bach's Fifth Symphony. When I politely commented that Bach never wrote any classical symphonies, and that perhaps he meant Beethoven, the guy simply said that he knew what he knew and that's all that mattered. MD, MPH, epidemiologist, people who are against all vaccinations. I'm a mechanic by trade. A guy I know bought an older European sports car to fix up. It doesn't run. So he got it cheap. I told him that it's definitely going to cost him way more than he thinks. And it's not going to be easy for him to do himself. Not to mention the difficulties of finding parts for it. He would probably save money if he just bought a new one. He just blew it off and gave me some strange twisted reasoning about how he can do it cheaper and make it better. Okay dude. Whatever. So far he's sunk thousands of dollars into it, and it still doesn't run. I believe that he's pretty well invested into the sunk cost fallacy at this point. Bye bye retirement fund. Environmental scientist here. How much time you got? I used to run a pub, and there's a classic saying, everyone knows how to do two jobs, their own, and running a pub. I'm a commercial property manager. In certain commercial leases, it's the tenant's responsibility to maintain plumbing, HVAC, etc., So you don't call your manager and demand your bulbs need to be replaced or toilets leaking like you would in residential. One of my properties had a main meter from the city then submitters to the individual suites. Our meters were monitored and billed by a third party who would then let us know if a tenant's usage had spiked. We would let the tenant know that they probably needed to investigate since something on their side of the meter was possibly leaking. We notified the tenant. He freaks out and tells us nothing is leaking. He freaks out further when his bill is 4 times higher. I tell him again, maybe get a plumber to investigate. He says he doesn't need a plumber because he is a water engineer. Side note, his business was one of those mailbox stores in a shopping center. Turned out his toilet was running. Historian. The amount inaccurate it I hear about Hitler could write a book in and of itself. I'm a teacher, so literally everything and anything to do with my job. I graduated high school, therefore I know everything you need to teach. I've had a baby, therefore I know everything about childhood development. I voted, therefore I know everything about government mandates about education. I did have a wonderful encounter with a guy who was telling me all about his magnificent new romance novel and how it was destined to be a bestseller. He was looking down on me on account of being self-published, despite, doing pretty okay financially speaking, and that he was sure it would only be a matter of time before an agent picked up his, I kid you not, 7-part BDSM masterpiece. Really, he'd gone full wheel of time on this methodica. Absolutely nothing had been left on the table. He'd worked every possible kink you could think of into it. It was like someone had tried playing Mad Libs with their genitals, and oh, was he eager to go into details. He asked me if I wanted to read it, and I said sure, why not? Maybe it would turn out to be better than I was expecting, which, I can't stress enough, was not a high bar. We were talking on OkCupid, and his command of the English language left a lot to be desired. Maybe he was looking for free editing, or someone to fluff his ego. I asked him if he wanted to email me a copy, or, nope, oh, I haven't actually finished it yet, he said. I've just done the first 5,000 words or so, but I've got it all planned out. Writing's the easy bit. Sure thing, buddy, whatever you say. I'm an airline pilot. Apparently I'm the only person that doesn't know how this stuff work. At least once a month since I don't know how any of this works. Someone will tell me how flying, airlines, weather, cancellations, maintenance, everything works. I usually have to hold my tongue, but when I don't, the usual response after I explain something is no, but this was different. Such things that I don't understand. The plane went vertical. The pilot gunned it. The pilot came on the intercom and said we're gonna crash. The flight attendant told us they don't know what's going on, this has never happened before. The plane was about to break up. Ugh. Had someone argue with me that vaccines gave their child Down syndrome. Yep. Injecting unsuspecting babies with extra chromosomes. Working in VFX. You will now and again expose someone to a naturally photographed shot you haven't worked on yet, only to hear that it looks fake. Similarly, a shot in which many things are indeed fake. Some yuts will inevitably pick out a real object and say it needs to be redone to fit in better. It just doesn't look like a natural part of the scene. Say what? It looks too synthetic. It's a physical prop. Shot in camera. What did you do? I let light fall on it in front of a light sensor. I'm a tattoo artist. Had a client try and tell me how I should go about tattooing color. She was completely wrong and wouldn't believe me when I tried to explain how tattooing actually worked because her cousin told her how it is. Also had someone tell me once that they thought tattooing seemed pretty easy and that they could probably do pretty well at it because they decorated cakes at Hivi. Bartender. I'm consistently amazed at how little people know about alcohol. I've got a million stories, but there's one request I've been getting a lot lately. My bar has a Long Island variation that's essentially a shot each of tequila, vodka, rum and gin, along with peach schnapps, Sprite, and 2 very sugary fruit juices topped with grenadine. People have been requesting this drink without the grenadine because they think that extra sugar is what's making them hungover. Nah man, you're hungover because you just took 4 shots and consumed 80 grams of sugar. Trust me, that less than 1/4 oz of grenadine is not going to make a difference. Pediatric nurse. So I love hearing how bad vaccines are, how medications are toxins and chemicals, how effective essential oils are, how the fact that each nurse does certain things a little different it must be wrong. Lawyer here. Someone just told me I was an arsehole because I would not answer a real estate question involving a document I had never heard of for a deal in a jurisdiction I don't practice in. Told me I had to know about it and was just being difficult. I'm a freelance graphic designer. I mainly do logos for small businesses and the like, and the amount of people who ask me to give them discounts because they could do it is absolutely ridiculous. Don't even get me started on people explaining to me why me doing work for them for free will help me in the long run. I sell tickets at a ski resort. Last Monday we had Rotary Night, where tickets are cheaper than normal and all proceeds go to charity. Tickets were $25 but if you bought them online they were $20. This one lady comes up and asks for a ticket and I tell her the price, $25. She gets super angry and insists that they are $20. I show her on my computer how much they are when I ring a ticket up. She claims that nowhere online does it say that the $20 tickets are online only. So, I pull up our website and show her that it does indeed say that the $20 deal is online only. At this point she has raised her voice at me and tells me it didn't say the same thing earlier that day, which everyone I work with knew it did. She makes me call a manager. He says the exact same thing to her and explains to her that these tickets are normally $72 and she is saving money today anyways. Plus all proceeds go to charity. She gets angrier and states that she isn't here for charity. We normally aren't open on Monday or Tuesday nights anyways. My manager proceeds to tell her that there is nothing we can do about the price change, that she can either buy a pass or not. She goes to find her family and comes back with her husband, who tries to say the same things. Slaps for head. I don't make enough money to deal with this sort of it. I'm a music producer, engineer, studio instrumentalist, and it's amazing how many of the artists I work with, many of whom are talented singers, but have no knowledge of music theory or recording, think they know better than me about it. It slows down an already tremendous process. I'm an EOD technician. For some reason, there are a ton of combat engineers who think that they can do my job better than I can. This was told to me by a co-worker while he was standing around. He saw a Humvee hauling ass towards him and his team. The terrain was very bumpy, so the vehicle was bouncing around. A combat engineer pulls up, gets out, and says he has to show them something they need to help him with. In the bed, there is an armed anti-tank mine that wasn't even secured or anything. They immediately screamed at him and cleared the area of other personnel. They asked him what the duck he was thinking, and he was absolutely convinced that only the pressure of a tank running over the mine could detonate it. He was very wrong. It could have gone off while it was bouncing around in the bed of the vehicle. He wouldn't listen, and he was absolutely convinced that he was correct. Ducking moron is lucky to be alive. Well, he survived that ordeal, but probably got himself killed at some point after the fact. My buddy and his team moved the mine to a safe location and blew it in place. Physician. My mom knows more about medicine than me. I don't even try. Sigh. Lawyer. Not from US. The amount of things that people think is applicable on my country just because it happens on US movies is absurd. They think it will have screaming, juries, a guy in a black cape mashing a wooden hammer, and oh god, the amount of things they think they can get off by just claiming freedom of speech and other constitutional rights. No, man. Maybe you can get away saying something on the US, but we are on another whole country. If you stand up and say and do some really dumb things, like racist, homophobic, over disrespectful discourse and gesture, you aren't protected by the Constitution. Edit. Sorry guys. You catfish fighter posted a link to TV tropes and I just came back. Trying to answer some questions now. Social worker here. I had a banker try to tell me human trafficking didn't exist because she had never personally met anyone who had been a victim. Someone attending one of my tastings interrupted me and insisted that if a scotch is even a teaspoon of another age of scotch in it, it has to be labeled blended scotch. He refused to believe otherwise and made sure to let all the other people in attendance know he was right. He isn't right. For your information. Teacher here. Anyone who says they would just tell the kids what to do and they'd do it. Hahaha. You have no idea. Behavior management of mental teenagers is a skill you have to learn. It's bloody hard and emotionally exhausting, even when you are good at it. Being told how to make movies by people who haven't ever made a movie. No, you can't do full post on a movie in 2 weeks whilst in pre-production for another film. What an insult to your investors. I had a patient tell me that I was a sham doctor for telling him that his dry weight went up by 10 pounds because he eats too much. He had a Jolly Rancher stuck to his t-shirt while proudly telling me that he eats nothing but salads. Anesthesiologist. Anesthesia doesn't work on me. Watching their eyes roll back in their head while I anesthetize them is a good reward. Medical laboratory technician here. A patient told me that the blood services in our state have him on speed dial because his blood was needed to save all newborn babies. So I said, "Oh, you must be O negative?" He replied very seriously, "No, I'm O positive." When I explained that he probably was mistaken, he got very loud and condescendingly told me he's been donating for years and that if I had paid more attention in school I would know the basics of how blood works. EMT. Went to a chest pain call out for an older guy. The wife kept insisting that he just needed a few more sprays of her GTN, a potent and potentially dangerous oral spray used to treat angina, and he would be fine. She had already administered goodness knows how much before we got there, which had tanked his blood pressure to dangerously low levels. Also, after checking him over, it became pretty clear the pain was a result of a chest infection and not a cardiac event. So as we transport him and try to prevent him from dying from the overdose of medicine she gave him, she is still harping on that we need to give him more because she knows it will work. When we turn our backs she whips out a bottle of it and tries to give him another couple of doses. After we confiscated it and sat her back down, she demanded we let her use our truck cell phone to call our manager and complain that we were idiots and didn't know our job. When we got to the hospital she then tried to convince the staff there to dose her husband with unnecessary and potentially lethal medication. When we left I noticed security attempting to disarm her of her bottle of GTN. We gave it back when we got to the ER. Presumably she tried to dose him again. I work for children aged 6-17 that are in the governmental foster system, either for bad parenting or bad attitude. I get an endless source of parents that think they could do a better job. Maybe there is a reason why they lost custody. You use medication on children? You monster. I would never do that if I were in charge. Therapist here. I would be a rich woman if I had $1 for every time someone lectured me with some version of there is no better cure for depression and anxiety than a run. Hard day's work. Kick in the ass. etc. Like. Thank you for your unsolicited, judgmental, ignorant opinion. But I hope you never have to test that theory on yourself. I am an architecture technologist and my mom argued with me for a good 30 minutes that there was only one way to build an interior wall. Sheet of drywall. 2x4 and another sheet of drywall. I even showed her websites that said otherwise. She still didn't believe me. Canon don't make professional cameras. Okay buddy. My wife and I are photographers. I can't remember the last client that didn't pull out their phone and show us a picture from Pinterest of some stupid fad that they think is adorable and ask us to replicate it for them. Non-photographers seem to think that anyone with an expensive camera can generate anything at any time, regardless of equipment specs or style of the photographer. This will get absolutely buried, but I was a bra fitter and the amount of women I had straight up argue with me about how sizing works was amazing. Oh. You've been wearing a 36B and couldn't possibly be a 3040? Then tell me why your band was halfway up your back and your breast tissue was slipping under the wires of your cups. Side note, real 36B breasts are actually pretty rare. I've fit maybe 10 out of the 1000 plus fittings I've done and seen dozens upon dozens of women who thought that they were a 36B but weren't. The worst was mothers who couldn't believe that their 14-year-old was a D. Like, lady, she's only a 32 band. Her boobs are the size of an orange, not her head. Calm down and let me do my job. I've actually had some mothers go behind my back, grab whatever size they thought their daughter should be, and make the poor kid try that on to prove to me that I was wrong. I'm a penetration tester, basically a professional good guy hacker. I've been told by a lot of people Macs don't get viruses can't be hacked. They do can. And that attitude makes it a lot easier for attackers because most Mac owners don't use antivirus. I teach English as a foreign language. I have had non-native speakers correct my grammar and argue with me over language use. Lawyer. Sovsits who pull constitutional interpretations out of thin air and think it's legally binding. Or the people who think all you need is a better case, but don't know about the rules of evidence and civil procedure.